Financial advisors call it the hardest dollar to save. Not your first thousand, not your first 10,000, your first $100,000. Here's the strange part. Almost nobody can explain why. Why does the exact same effort that took someone 5 years to save their first 20,000 suddenly produce 40,000 in 18 months once they cross 100K? Why do two people earning identical salaries, saving identical percentages, end up with wealth gaps of $500,000 or more by retirement? And why does one specific decision made in their 20s that feels completely harmless at the time end up being the difference? This is the story of Alex and Chris. Alex and Chris meet on their first day at the same logistics company in Columbus, Ohio. Same year, same starting salary, $58,000, same studio apartment complex, 2 buildings apart, both 24 years old, both smart, both ambitious. Neither of them is reckless. Neither of them is a financial genius. They're just two normal guys trying to build a life. Within 6 months, they make one decision differently, so small and so ordinary that neither realizes it's the most important financial choice of their 20s. It's about a car. Alex's old sedan dies in March. He needs wheels fast. He walks into a dealership, falls in love with a nearly new SUV, and drives off with a $34,000 loan at a 7% interest rate, 72 months. His payment is $580 a month. Chris's car also needs replacing around the same time, but Chris does something less glamorous. He buys a 5-year-old Honda Accord for $14,000, pays cash using savings, and keeps driving the same car he had in college a little longer than planned. For the first 18 months, Chris looks like he made the boring, even slightly embarrassing choice. That older Accord needs a transmission sensor replaced, then new brakes, then an alternator. Total repair bill over 2 years, almost $3,200. Meanwhile, Alex's SUV runs flawlessly, under warranty, reliable, safe, with the kind of advanced safety tech that genuinely could save his life on Ohio's icy winter highways. According to data tracked by Consumer Reports and J.D. Power, newer vehicles in this category do tend to have meaningfully lower mechanical failure rates in their first 5 years. For a moment, Alex looks like the smarter one. He has reliability, safety, 0 unexpected costs. Chris is the one stuck at the mechanic, losing a Saturday and $400 he didn't plan to spend. This is the twist almost nobody expects. Sometimes the expensive choice really does win, for a while. But here's what neither of them is tracking, and what almost nobody tracks in their 20s. Opportunity cost. Alex's $580 monthly payment every month for 6 years totals $41,760 before insurance, which runs roughly $130 more per month on a newer SUV than an older sedan. Chris's car, fully paid off, costs him nothing monthly. Even adding in his $3,200 of repairs spread across 5 years, Chris is paying roughly $53 a month in total vehicle cost. Alex is paying nearly $710 a month all in. The difference is about $667 every single month. That's not the twist. That's just the setup. Here's the real twist. Chris doesn't spend that $657 difference. He doesn't feel richer, doesn't upgrade his lifestyle, doesn't treat the gap as extra money. He automatically invests it into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund every month, the kind Vanguard and Fidelity have built entire retirement-saving philosophies around. Alex, meanwhile, isn't reckless either. He's just living a normal, comfortable life with a nicer car and the nicer dinners that come with that lifestyle, with 0 monthly investing because his income feels used up. This is where loss aversion and present bias quietly take over. Alex isn't choosing to lose. His brain is wired, like everyone's, to value a tangible reward today over an invisible, abstract reward 15 years from now. Behavioral economists call this hyperbolic discounting. Chris isn't a hero either. He just made the invisible reward automatic, so willpower was never required. Fast forward 8 years. Alex and Chris are now 32. Alex has long since paid off that SUV and bought a newer one. Same pattern, new loan, similar payment. His net worth after company 401k matching and a small emergency fund is roughly $31,000. Chris's quiet $657 a month investment, growing at a conservative, historically grounded average return of 7% annually, has grown to just over $84,000. The gap isn't $657 a month anymore. It's a $53,000 canyon. And neither of them sees themselves as the winner or loser yet. Alex still drives the nicer car. Alex still, on paper, looks more successful to outsiders. This is the part almost nobody talks about. Looking rich and becoming rich are often opposite strategies. Why does Alex keep making this choice year after year, even as the gap grows? Status signaling. In research that became the foundation of The Millionaire Next Door, authors Thomas Stanley and William Danko found something almost nobody expected. Most actual millionaires don't drive luxury cars. They drive ordinary, often older vehicles. The people who look wealthy are frequently the ones who are quietly the least wealthy, because the appearance is consuming the substance. Alex isn't weak. Alex is human. Every coworker who compliments his SUV, every subtle social signal reinforces the decision. The cost is invisible. The reward is immediate and social. Now here's why this story is really about the number 100,000, not 50,000, not 200,000. At 32, Chris crosses $100,000 in invested net worth, and something changes that almost nobody explains correctly. It's not that Chris suddenly gets smarter, it's that compounding, barely visible below 100K, becomes obvious above it. At a 7% return, the first 100,000 might take a decade of disciplined saving to reach. But the next 100,000, assuming Chris keeps investing the same amount, could take less than half that time, because the existing balance is now generating tens of thousands of dollars in growth on its own every year without Chris lifting a finger. By 45, Chris's account, still fed by that same modest monthly habit, untouched, boring, automatic, has crossed $410,000. Alex, still upgrading vehicles every 6 to 7 years, still carrying a car payment as a permanent fixture of his budget, has a net worth closer to $95,000. The gap is no longer a canyon, it's a different financial universe. But here's the uncomfortable truth. And the reason this isn't a simple story of Chris good, Alex bad. Alex genuinely enjoyed 16 years of reliable, safer, more comfortable vehicles. He never lost a weekend to car repairs. He never drove his kids around in a car with a check engine light on. There's real value in that. Value that doesn't show up on a balance sheet. Bureau of Labor Statistics consumer expenditure data consistently shows transportation as the second largest household expense after housing, and reliability genuinely reduces financial shocks for many families. Chris, meanwhile, spent his 20s driving cars that occasionally embarrassed him a little, fixing things that broke at inconvenient times, and quietly trusting a process that, for years, showed almost no visible reward. Neither path was irrational. One was simply compounding, and one wasn't. Morgan Housel, in The Psychology of Money, makes a point that explains this entire story better than any spreadsheet could. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not bought, the upgrades not taken, the dollars quietly converted into shares of ownership in companies instead of ownership of a depreciating machine. The first $100,000 is hard because it's built entirely on discipline, with almost no help from compounding. But everything after it gets built on momentum you already created. That's not a story about cars. It's a story about which version of rich you're optimizing for. The one your neighbors can see, or the one your future self will actually live inside. The question was never which one of them made the smarter purchase. It was which one of them was building something invisible, while the other was buying something everyone could see. If today's story made you rethink something about your own money, that's exactly why this channel exists. Hit subscribe because the next story might just change how you see your entire financial future. See you in the next one.